So, here's what we're doing today. Astro Bot came out fairly recently. It has been critically acclaimed for its great success and its celebration of the PlayStation IP and all the different IPs that they have. But I would like to draw attention away from that and bring it back to the thing that really deserves to be celebrated as the PlayStation IP celebration, and that is PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, one of my favorite games, unironically. Also, just what I think in my opinion is a very underrated series. So, what I did was I searched the internet far and wide for a good characters for PlayStation All-Stars 2 roster list, and that is exactly what we are going to do today. So, we have a list of about, I think, 150 characters, and so we're going to put them on this list. I'm gonna change these in a second. Returning newcomers, DLC. It launched with 20, and then it had 4 DLC characters, so it's 24. I kind of want to keep that number. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have 10 returning characters, and we're gonna have 10 newcomers, and 4, maybe 5 DLC characters. I feel like 24 is a weird number. I feel like 25 is a good number. I don't know what order I'm gonna do these in. Maybe swap back and forth between them and whatever. Let's start with Kratos. Let's start with something nice and easy. So here's the thing. I would like to put in Kratos, but I don't know if he would be considered a returning character. And the reason why is because in PlayStation All-Stars 1, it was pre-PS4 God of War. So I feel like he's a completely different character. Completely new set of moves, completely new personality, completely new everything. He's obviously still the same character, but I feel like he would have a insane overhaul, which would technically make him a new character. I think with that logic, I'm gonna put him as a newcomer. He's gonna be our first newcomer, technically speaking. Up next, obviously, Ratchet is gonna be returning. I feel like kind of expected to be one of those returning characters. You know what I mean? I'll swap back and forth between them, returning characters and newcomers. I think I'll do that. So the other returning character that I think is very obvious, right, is our boy Sly Cooper. It's been a hot minute since we've had a new Sly Cooper game. I know that they just released something Sly Cooper related. I think it was the Thievius Raccoonus on PS4/PS5. It was a classic PlayStation Sony IP, right? He's got to be a returning character. Our first real newcomer, to nobody's surprise, it's got to be Ellie. Ellie from The Last of Us 2, to be more specific. I feel like Joel would also be a good contender, but I feel like Ellie would be just more unique, right? I feel like she has a more importance in the stories. I think she would add more to it. I think that the strong female character representation is also there too. I feel like Ellie would just be a better pick overall than Joel. All right, so our next returning character, next Naughty Dog character, it's gotta be Nathan Drake. Nathan Drake is that character. I also really loved his moveset in PlayStation All-Stars 1, and because of PlayStation All-Stars 1, that's the thing that got me into Uncharted. So he's got to be on the list. Like the Uncharted series is just too iconic. And then if they do the rival thing again, then they could have Nathan Drake beat the shit out of Ellie. Oh, so here was the other thing that I was gonna say. So in terms of talking about move sets or how they're gonna be incorporated and whatever, if I get into that discussion, the thing that I am basing all of these picks off of too is gameplay. The gameplay is just going to be PlayStation All-Stars 1, but better. I don't know what that would mean. It would be the supers being more balanced, or having more combos into supers, or eventually having the ability to kill without supers, or having a life bar or something and the supers do massive damage, whatever. I personally liked it, but I think that it needed a lot more balancing. They didn't want to fully commit one way or another. It was very casual, but also competitive at the same time. There were characters that had super confirms and then other characters that did not have super confirms, and that's what the balancing was really made of. So I would like it to lean more into the competitive side and just have supers with confirms, and that's what I'm basing this off of for my character picks. So next newcomer, Horizon Zero Dawn lady. I think that one's another very obvious one. I don't really know anything about her other than she's from Horizon Zero Dawn, and that's apparently a very big deal. So that's why she's obviously going here. Next returning character, oh, Sackboy. Sackboy should be in here. Yeah, I love Sackboy, by the way. I love his games. But yeah, he was basically the Mario for the platformer stuff. I really like Sackboy. Sackboy definitely deserves a spot back in here. Oh, Virgil? Yeah, I don't think Virgil would make it into a game like this, and I'm going to discuss that more later. But yeah, Virgil would not make it into a game like this. Like, absolutely not. But why? Because he's not really a PlayStation IP. All right, next newcomer. What if I put the Returnal lady in here? What if I put Norman Reedus in here? Norman Reedus from Death Stranding. What would he do? What would this character do? Throw shit at the players? Yeah, this one's actually kind of a toughie. Because I have some ideas for DLC already that I don't want to get into. Oh, here's a newcomer. Jin Sakai from Ghost of Tsushima. Another obvious one. Very beloved game from Sucker Punch. I know that they're working on Ghost of Tsushima 2. I think, isn't he going to be in the Amazon Prime show, that one Amazon Prime Legacy series? I think that he was a very logical choice here as well, with the samurai and the stance changes and stuff. Just like a sword fighter. There's ways to make him cool, but I think for being an iconic PlayStation character, I feel like he kind of fits this list now. All right, so speaking of Sucker Punch, you already know we got to put my boy Cole McGrath in here. Cole's obviously a returning character. Infamous in the PS3 era, absolutely. But here's the thing that I would change. No evil Cole. I don't want it to be just good. I don't want it to be just evil. They have to be combined together. They can combine the moves. But really, truly, in my heart, this is where bias fully kicks in. We're putting my boy Delsin in the game. He deserves it. If I had the choice between these two, I'd kick Cole out. I think that Delsin has more unique powers. I personally think that Delsin is a little more relevant, and I just really like Delsin. I would much rather see Cole and Delsin than Cole and Evil Cole. Like, Cole and Evil Cole were made because asset reuse, and also they wanted another Infamous character, but what other character is there? This actually gives us two Infamous characters, and I just think that that would be really cool. Next returning character. We're already at 10, so we're halfway through the list. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of tempted to put Heihachi back in the game. Number one, we need some villains, and number two, I don't really think Kazuya being in the game makes a lot of sense, and even more so, I don't think Jin makes any fucking sense, right? Whenever I think of Tekken, I think of Kazuya and I think of Heihachi. I don't think of Jin. That could just be a me thing, but personally speaking, I think of Heihachi and I think of Kazuya. So maybe I will save them for later. Big Daddy's not getting in. I'm sorry, but I think Big Daddy's time has passed. But actually, I'm gonna skip the returning rotation because, like I said, we need some villain characters. I think Pyramid Head should be in the game. We take Big Daddy out, we put in Pyramid Head. I think it's that simple. So let's go to the returning characters again real fast. So for returning characters. I'm not gonna lie. Parappa the Rapper makes the most sense to me for right now. Parappa the Rapper is so funny. His level 3 is amazing. I think Parappa the Rapper should come back. And on that similar note, I'm gonna say Spike again, because PS1 iconography. It's like, I'm kind of trimming the fat on the returning characters, right? Like the returning characters that I'm taking out from PlayStation All-Stars 1 were the ones that were kind of like the ones that didn't really make the most sense. Like, I'm not putting Raiden back in the game. Like, especially Metal Gear Rising Revengeance Raiden. He's not coming back. Like, the characters that were made to promote other games that were either coming out or have not been relevant since. Like, nothing dates PlayStation All-Stars more than seeing Reboot Dante in the cast list. I'm just saying. Oh, yeah, I was talking about it earlier, Astro Bot. Astro Bot makes the most logical sense. In fact, I will actually put Astro Bot right across from Sackboy because this just makes the most sense, right? I think having two characters like this is fine. I don't want to put the Nyan Nyan cat back because we're replacing the Nyan Nyan cat with Astro Boy or Astro Bot. I keep saying Astro Boy instead of Astro Bot. Returning characters. I still think we need some more villains because right now it's just Pyramid Head. So you know what? I'm gonna put Zeus in. I feel like Zeus would make the most logical choice because God of War. So Kratos will be new God of War, and then Zeus will be old God of War. And here's the thing. So I haven't played Ragnarok, so I don't really know a whole lot about the villains, but no one in the first God of War game, like the PS4 one, none of them really stood out to me. I understand Bacon's sentiment. I feel like Thor would also be a logical choice. I don't know. To me, I just feel like Zeus is that guy. Like Zeus or Thor. Thor's not in here, but I think that Zeus makes more sense because of old God of War. This satisfies new God of War fans. This satisfies old God of War fans. Then the compromise has to be Kratos OG as a skin. Oh yeah, no, for sure. Kratos would absolutely get an OG skin. No question about that. In fact, one of the things that I really liked about PlayStation All-Stars was their alternate skins that they had for all the characters. Smash Brothers kinda does that, but also not really. They do it when they feel like it. Oh, I'm saving the Final Fantasy stuff for later, don't you worry. Don't you worry. Just let me cook. let me cook a little longer, okay? Let's see. Newcomer. Would it make sense to have a Resident Evil character? It did get its start in PlayStation 1. It would, but it should be someone from the first 3 games. I agree. Unfortunately, none of these really fit that category except for these 2. I feel like Nemesis. Nemesis would make the most sense. Leon makes the most sense as Jill, Chris, and Nemesis were in NBC. Well, the other thing that I'm trying not to take into consideration is them being in other games. But my thing is that Wesker is cool in RE5 and nothing else. No offense. RE2 Leon is just kind of whatever, right? Like he's just a cop. But I also think that RE1 Jill was just done better in Marvel vs. Capcom. And I can't really see what they'd be doing besides Marvel vs. Capcom stuff. I think, though, that having another villain character, especially for Resident Evil, would make sense. So for right now, I'll put on Nemesis, and I may take him out. Wesker is cool in MVC3. Got him to Sly. No, he totally is. Don't get me wrong. I would feel weird about putting RE5 Wesker in here when this is supposed to be a celebration of PlayStation. Also, I'm going to switch the thing again, so I'm going to do another newcomer, because, again, I think this makes sense. We got to put the Detroit Become Human cop. I think it makes sense. This right here personally makes the most sense to me. I think that he would be kind of cool as like the robot cop. I don't know. I just think this makes sense. I could change my mind. All of this can be changed later. But yeah, Detroit representation 100% makes sense. Yeah. And I think this is the most logical choice. Like, he's going to be one of those characters that 50% of the people are going to go, why is he in here? But the other 50% go, I know why he's in here, and that's why. Kind of like the same thing with with these 2. Like, 2 infamous characters representing like different sides of the coin. And like I said, I would personally want to get rid of Cole. And we could very well get rid of Cole if we run out of options. All right, so next returning character, I think, should be Jak and Daxter. Jak and Daxter, logically, again, makes the most sense. He's another one of those PlayStation staples that hasn't really had anything in a while, but I think that that's why he's important to be here. And the last newcomer is going to be Fett. No, I'm just kidding. God damn, this list really filled up. Yeah, because I'm not trying to add in like a bajillion characters also. Like that's the other thing. I'm trying not to add in a bajillion characters. Are we also considering Echo Fighters? Absolutely not, no. Let me see, actually. We already had one returning character from DLC. I see that Isaac's here. I saw Emmett earlier. I'd want to add back in Emmett just because of the easy money, the easy money thing. I love that super easy money. We would make jokes about that all the time. So last returning character. You can see where my mouse is hovering. And I imagine that a lot of people are going to be mad at me about this. Oh, this is hard. I'm in between 3 characters. I'm in between Cat, Fat Princess, and Sir Daniel. But I think it would also be weird not having Sir Daniel on here. I think that would be weird. Huh. Do we really need 2 infamous characters? Now, okay, let's think about this for a second. Do we really need 2 infamous characters? Everyone else has gotten 1. Why does Infamous get 2? Even in the first game, why did we get 2 infamous characters? You know what? Fuck it. Cole, you had your time. I love Cole, but he had his time. Why does Infamous get 2? That's where my argument goes. Why does Infamous get 2? Let's put Sir Daniel in, because Sir Daniel is a PlayStation icon. Sir Daniel should come back. So... Cat or Fat Princess? This is where I'm at. Who should it be? Who should it be, chat? Which one is it gonna be? My heart is telling me Cat, but I also really want Fat Princess back in the game. Just because I think it's funny. Oh my god. I agree, Nero, but also Fat Princess. Counter argument, Fat Princess. Cat is from Gravity Rush, which I've never played, but I know someone who's played it. I don't know anybody that's played the Fat Princess game. So maybe with that logic, Cat should come back. I feel like people loved Cat more than Fat Princess. Fat Princess was just there. She'll be DLC, it's fine. So the last newcomer. Are you ready for this one? There's so many different possibilities that this last newcomer could be. So many of them. I have a couple of different options that I would like to present. But then we also have DLC. That's the other thing. The suspense is killing me, and I'm the one making the video. Clive Rossfield. Clive Rossfield would be my last base roster character. He is a relevant PlayStation character. Final Fantasy is obviously a very, very, very big IP title. And I think it makes the most sense in my opinion. I think that Clive should be the last newcomer. He should be the last newcomer in base roster. We gotta remember that. This is base roster. Base roster characters, this is what the game comes with. If this is what it was, I'd be happy. However, now we need to talk about DLC. And what is the purpose of DLC, you may ask? Well, the purpose of DLC is to sell more, right? It's to earn that little bit of extra moolah. So we're gonna cook with this DLC roster, and I'm going to put in 5 DLC characters, because I think 4 is weird. I'm gonna put in 5 DLC characters that I think would sell like a bajillion dollars. And I would like to release it possibly in this order. So first pack right away, it's gonna be Crash. Crash would be one of those characters that would sell DLC. It would sell. I can already hear you. I can hear you guys shouting at your screen, why is he not base roster? Because they know that Crash would sell money. You cannot tell me that people would look at the base roster and go, oh man, Crash isn't in the game, but then the first DLC trailer, boom, Crash. Everyone buys the fucking game, and then they spend the extra, like, $20 on the season pass or whatever. Crash would absolutely be DLC. And on that same note, the second DLC character, it's gonna be Spyro. Like, you know, the 2 most requested characters for PlayStation All-Stars 1 were those 2. So you wouldn't think that they would capitalize on that? Like, they totally would, right? Like I said, base roster is just base roster, right? This is like, okay, 10 returning characters of various Sony IPs. Like, yeah, that makes sense. Newcomers for the more relevant shit. Yeah, like that makes sense, right? And then we have Nemesis. I think that this would make the most sense. So next DLC character. We also need a villain too. I just realized. The only thing about this list is that it is severely lacking in villains. Okay, hear me out. So we're gonna do something a little feisty here. I said that this DLC would sell a bajillion copies, but I have some other takes that I would like to say. And it's hard restricting it to just 5. Oh, this is hard. Actually, you know what? So, like I said, you want to sell a bajillion copies, right? This will also sell you a bajillion copies. Put in the Bloodborne Hunter. It makes sense, right? And even you guys in chat, you're like, Bloodborne character, where's the Bloodborne Hunter? Bloodborne Hunter goes right there in DLC. It's a Sony IP. It makes sense. Why would they not put the Bloodborne Hunter in here? Bloodborne Hunter would sell like hotcakes. 100%. Next DLC. Oh, you guys are probably going to kill me for this one. Dante. So this is where my bias is going to come in a little bit. Maybe I should not have Dante. However, counter argument, Dante was a PS1 game, or Dante was a PS2 game. But hear me out. So this is DMC5 Dante? No, not DMC5 Dante. DMC1 Dante. It would be DMC1 Dante. Because DMC1 Dante was the one that started it all on the PlayStation 2. He would have less moves, but that would make him a little bit easier to balance and easier to make. Like, he'd have Alistair, Sparta, and then Ifrit, instead of, like, MBC3, where he is basically a fucking Tekken player, right? With the amount of moves that he has. But also, I was thinking about this last night, and I was like, I would like to add Dante back in here, but what would he do? Like what would he have? And the thing that I actually liked about Dante in PlayStation All-Stars 1 is that he was actually relatively simple with his kit. Like, he had a Rebellion on Square, he had Ebony and Ivory on Triangle, and then on Circle he had his Scythe weapon and then the Axe weapon, so his Angel and Demon stuff. And I think that it just worked there, and I feel like if they had that same system, they could just do the same thing. X is Alistair, Triangle is Ebony and Ivory, and then Circle would be Ifrit, or Ifrit and Sparta, or whatever. Like, those types of special moves. I just think that DMC1 Dante would make the most sense. The last one, and like I said, this is for selling DLC. Put in Spider-Man at the very end. This would fucking sell. Can we just acknowledge, too, that there is a very real possibility that if this existed, that these 2 motherfuckers could be in the game together? But the thing that would make this hard is Marvel. If there was any justice in the world, Spider-Man would get in because of Spider-Man PS4 and Spider-Man PS5. That's just my opinion. But also, again, with the purpose of selling DLC, you see this base roster and you go, yeah, this is like Sony IPs. It makes the most sense. But wouldn't it be really cool if they put in Spider-Man? Like, that's one of those, it's like the same conversation of, oh, let's put Sora in Smash Brothers. It's the same thing. It feels like an impossibility, but it's right there. Like, actually, I would debate that putting Spider-Man in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale 2 is a shorter leap than putting Sora in Smash Brothers. I think that this would make the most sense, and he'd be such a cool fucking character. He'd be so cool, and obviously, specifically, it would be Spider-Man PS4 Spider-Man, or PS5. Doesn't matter, but it would be the Advanced Suit or Advanced Suit 2.0. So, this would be the returning roster. We have 10 characters for newcomers, and then we have these 5 DLC that I think would be very logical and would sell like hotcakes. But we're gonna add another tier. So this would be Year 2 DLC. Year 2 DLC is gonna be me just kind of throwing whatever the fuck I want. Do I think a game like this would get Year 2 DLC? Probably not, unless it was uber duper super successful, but I don't think it would be. So Year 2 would be the holy shit balls, look at all of these fucking characters in this game. That's so cool. And you're gonna see a lot of stuff that may or may not make logical sense, but I would also like to see. And I'm once again gonna try to keep this at 5 people. So the first one, if there was any fucking justice, there is no shot that this character would make it into the game. There isn't. Absolutely not. Started with Kiryu. Kiryu got his start on the PS2. And Yakuza was a PlayStation exclusive until, like, what? Like 4 years ago? They just started putting these games on other platforms, specifically Xbox. We're getting fucking Kiwami 1 on the Switch later this year. Like, Yakuza has been a PlayStation game this entire time. So it would make logical sense for Kiryu to be in a game like this. Of course, though, I don't think he would, because there is female representation in this game. And they don't want Kiryu to hit them. So that's where Kiryu would go. Helldivers in Year 2. I don't think there's a Helldivers rep in here. But I agree. You know what? Let's do this. I don't know who the fuck this guy is, but he is going to be the Helldiver character. Because I agree. I think that Helldiver is one of PlayStation's best things that they've had in a long while, and then they fucked it up. So next character, Solid Snake. Solid Snake would be in Year 2. Again, he's down here because Konami. I don't know if Konami would do it. Very similarly with Kiryu, I don't know if Konami would let Snake be in here. That's just my thing. There was a reason for Raiden to be put in, and because they wanted to promote Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. I think that Snake being in here would make the most logical sense. But again, the big leap is, will Konami allow it? Like, Snake, Kiryu, and Spider-Man all have the same problem, which is, will the intellectual property allow it? Who else? Putting Cole McGrath in here too. Captain Cord. What does this guy do? That's the other thing I was thinking. What do you do? What does this guy do? I've only played Ratchet 1, and I played the remake. I don't know what they do. I don't know what this guy does. Killzone guy is obviously not getting in. Returnal person is not getting in. Norman Reedus is not getting in. This is hard. I had it too. Oh, Lara Croft. Actually, I feel like Lara Croft should be up here. No, she should be in DLC roster. I should really replace Dante with Lara Croft. That's where it should be. Like I said, Dante is a little bit more personal bias. I feel like it would make more logical sense for Lara Croft to be in the DLC. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. No. Lara Croft would be one of those characters to sell like hotcakes. She should not be base roster. Oh, this is such a hard list. Fat Princess in Year 2. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to see the quiz guy at some point. They could make him work very well. And actually, I was thinking about this earlier. Ichiban also wouldn't be a very bad choice. But the problem is that the legacy character is Kiryu. Like, he's the legacy PS1 or PS2 character. Ichiban's the new guy. It makes more sense for Kiryu to be in here. Okay, so this one is just complete personal bias. I would like to see him in the game. And having him as a DLC character with Crash in Year 2, I think it would make sense. Notice I'm saying this guy because I've only played 2 Crash games, and it's been a while since I played them. I just can't remember the guy's name. I'm so sorry. My other thought was eventually putting in Miles. I think that he would play different enough from Peter, but I feel like the magic of having Peter Parker in a PlayStation All-Stars game would just make this feel a little redundant. So that's why Miles isn't going in. I feel like Persona 5 guy. Wow, his name's Joker. Why did I call him the Persona 5 guy? He makes sense too, but he was also in Smash Brothers. So I was excluding him on that. I didn't really want to put in any fighting game characters. Like, I almost put in Heihachi, but I feel like there were better choices, right? Like I feel like Heihachi was, again, kind of trimming the fat a little bit. I feel like the two mascots here should be included at some point, but again, I just don't personally know enough about them. The main difference between these three would really be if Square wanted them to be in the game, and I feel like I would personally rather see Clive, but we also had these two in Smash Brothers, and I would really much rather see Tifa in Tekken, so that's why they're not on here. I feel like Clive being in here makes more sense. Because Cloud, even though he's a PlayStation character, he's been a PS1 character this whole time, right? I feel like as a video game character, he's better suited in Smash Brothers and representing the video game legacy rather than just PlayStation's legacy. That's just my opinion, though. Oh, Sweet Tooth getting cut is rough, though. That one's a rough cut. I think it also boils down to if each character is only allowed one rep from their series. Because if we're counting... Actually, wait a minute. I totally forgot that God of War has 2 reps right now. But I also think that this makes sense. But also, I feel like you guys would kill me if I swapped out Zeus with Sweet Tooth. So, I don't know. I think that's the only big change that I would make, because I'd like to put Sweet Tooth back in. I think everything else is fine. No Knack. I've never played Knack, actually. Is the Knack guy even on here? The thing is, out of 55% of them are PlayStation mascots from past games, yeah. Like, a lot of these are PlayStation mascots from past games, but also the PlayStation IPs are very few and far between. Like especially now. Like, obviously in something like Smash Brothers, it's way different because Nintendo has so many different original IPs and IPs that they own. Now the problem with PlayStation is that they had a lot of IPs that they used to own, and it used to just be on their consoles. But now they're going everywhere, right? Yakuza is actually a prime example of that. Devil May Cry stopped being multi-platform after 4. But also, too, like, talking about, like, Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man and Detroit, like, when a game goes to PC, I don't really count it as the multi-platform. I think it needs to cross over to Xbox or Nintendo for it to be considered the multi-platform. But that's also why the DLC is mainly characters that have been multi-platform, with the exception of Spider-Man and the Bloodborne Hunter. Oh, and then Helldivers, of course. Keep forgetting that this is actually Helldivers guy. So yeah, that's my list. That's my list of returning characters, newcomers, DLC, and year 2. And like I said, I limited myself quite hard for this one, just having only one extra character from the original game. And again, this is just my own personal take, my own personal list, like, again, with the specific restrictions that I was given, especially with 10 returning characters and 10 newcomers. Definitely let me know what you think of my list and what characters you would like to see in a potential PlayStation All-Stars 2. Or you can actually do the tier list yourself. I'll link it down in the description, and you can try it for yourself and then post it in the Discord. I'd like to see everyone's choices on what you would think. Everyone on YouTube, thank you again so much for watching. Hope you all have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you guys shortly.